What is up? If you are finally ready to learn how to take all of these concepts that I share in my content, in my podcasts, in my YouTube videos, my Facebook Lives, and learn how to integrate them and implement them through a series of neural exercises that teach you how to rewire your relationship with trauma, sex, and money, the things that are most argued about in relationship dynamics, you will absolutely love my upcoming 3-day intensive. Click that link below. It's coming up very soon. It is ideal for people who are nerds for neuroscience and want to rewire this conditioning of undeserving, of prosperity, abundance, and healthy sexuality. If we don't get to the conditioning, these unresolved faulty mechanisms play out in relational dynamics, creating insecure attachments. And unconsciously, we are pushing prosperity and healthy sexuality away because of this mechanism of undeserving. If you want to learn how to shift it from an embodied perspective, follow the link below, and we'll see you at our next Rewire event coming really soon. All right, so here we are, another trigger-proof transmission, but it's a special one because it's not about me. You know, it's for a change, it's not about me. And you know me, I like making everything about me. but but in this this episode started with me just having this thought. Sometimes I think of clients that I've been working with and they just pop into my head. And then on occasion, I'll reach out and I'll be like, hey, Ryan, how's it going? What's been up? It's been a while since I've talked to you. And I get an update and I see what you're up to. And I'm just like, wow. Because what I love to do is always go back to the first time I meet somebody and where they were in their lives, the state that they were in. And, I'm in the world of, healing. As a chiropractor, I've been really interested in what causes healing. And as I went through my career, I started noticing this focus going more upstream rather than the physical body into more of our attachment woundings being at the root cause of stress, anxiety, relationship breakdown, grief, shame. It can all be traced back to something that happened within an attachment, with a breakup, with a grief of a loss of somebody, with a resentment we're holding on to, with a guilt we're holding on to. And these get stored in our body, causing us to escape up into our heads and have relationships that are very superficial and transactional. At least that's how it was for me. And in my journey, in my wake-up call, it was after my last relationship that had me looking and understanding attachment styles, realizing that I was an avoidant and saying, all right, what is it going to take? What distance do I have to travel? I want to know what it would be like. I'm 43 years old and I've never felt what it was like in a secure relationship. It was always about fireworks and love bombing and all that kind of thing. And I was able to get to the other side. And that's why when men especially reach out to me, telling me that they can relate to what I'm going through or what I've gone, my journey, it makes my heart sing to be able to guide men from their insecure, often avoidance or anxious attachment to doing the necessary difficult work of getting into secure. And so it was a couple years ago, and Ryan, you're going to have to remind me exactly when, but when Ryan showed up one day and the advice of his friend to come to one of our breathwork events, and had an epiphany. And then he reached out to me. Ryan, welcome. It's good to have you here. It's great to see you again, first of all. Was it 2 years ago?
It was 2020. It was kind of around April or so.
Okay, so two and a
And
half years ago since we've
yeah, about that. Yeah.
chatted, since we
Mm,
began working together. And
yeah.
so welcome. So where do you live right now? And um, why don't you share what was going on in your life around the time that we met?
So right now I live in Tasmania. I live in Hobart.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little island off the bottom of Australia.
Yep.
Um, when I started to work with you, basically I felt that there was something that was really wrong and I had no idea what it was. Life just felt like there was just nothingness. There was no good, there was no bad. It was just like just nothing, numbness in a way. I wasn't really getting excited about things anymore. I was just in a real kind of plateau. And then my friend
Mm.
Alex said, "Hey, why don't you come do 3 hours of breath work with Dr. Nima?" And I'm like, come on, man, 3 hours of breathing. What are we doing here? Um, but in that 3 hour thing, you did a little inner child meditation, and I just bawled my eyes out for ages, and I was just there sitting in the room like what just happened? I have no idea what just happened. What does this all mean? And that's when we started talking together and eventually started working together.
Mm.
Uh, yeah.
And how would you describe your state? You know, how old were you at the time? Well, you're how old are you now?
Right now I'm 27. At the
Okay.
time, I was almost 25.
Okay, that's right. The quarter century mark going, all right, what's the point here? What are we supposed to be doing? My life, my career just feels flat. How would you describe your state in 3 or 4 words?
Numb,
Yeah.
dissociated, mental.
Mm.
Three's all I need.
And so what made you decide to kind of start working with me? Why me over someone else? What was it about me specifically that you were, because you've done a lot of John DeMartini's work. You've been,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that was huge. That was huge because for quite a few years, I was very much down the John DeMartini rabbit hole
Mm-hmm.
around the whole thing about neutralization and focusing on your perceptions. Like everything's neutral. Everything's perfectly balanced. All we need to do is write a list of benefits, and it's everything's an equation. Like everything's a maths equation. That's how I'd been operating for quite a few years. I
Mm.
denied my own feelings. I denied like how I felt about life and the world. And I just said, oh, everything's neutral. I pretty much gaslit myself for a bunch of years. But yeah, that's the big thing about working with you, because you had been down that rabbit hole and you found the light that kind of pieced everything together in a way and made sense and was more human, was more real. And I I yeah, I could see that you could help me with that,
Mm.
and yeah, just went from there pretty much.
And what happened during the time that we worked together? When any big epiphanies, breakthroughs, or anything that you realized that you felt kind of changed things for you?
Yeah, well, I cried a lot for the
Yeah,
first time in a while.
you were like cut off from your emotions, weren't you? Like crying
Yeah,
and stuff wasn't something that was it something that you avoided or you stuffed away? Like what was your relationship to your tears before doing the inner work?
I just denied the existence of any feelings of that kind altogether, because like I said, gaslit myself into believing that everything's neutral, everything's baseline. Nothing is. You shouldn't feel certain ways. You shouldn't feel sad. You shouldn't feel angry. You shouldn't feel upset. You shouldn't feel any of that stuff. You
Grief,
shouldn't feel elated,
you should be
grief.
able to clear it all.
Yeah, you should be able to do it within 3 hours, or you should be able to do it within a 1 hour session, and it's gone forever.
Mm.
Um, so it was non-existent. I had no relationship with my emotions at all.
Mm.
It just didn't exist at all. Yeah.
And so what kind of realizations or epiphanies were you able to have? Was it just that you literally the wiring in your brain was like brain to body and feelings? Like what happened? What was kind of like, what did you notice with this type of work that really landed for you, Ryan?
I think especially working with you and having a bit of that permission, like it almost felt that time I needed permission to be able to go there and to have you hold that space there and just be really solid.
Mm.
Just fully let me feel everything that had happened
Mm-hmm.
in my life. I think that was probably the biggest thing, is just being with someone that I felt safe around to open up and to let that all through. Because I think that I've expressed a lot of things to a lot of people at times, but I felt that they couldn't quite meet me where I was at, or I couldn't fully open myself up and
Be held
just
and understood, like be understood in it.
exactly. And that's something that you do really well. You always are able to show the bigger picture and fully be there with, yeah.
And in the beginning, can you share a little bit like about your relationship situation? Like, do you want to, I mean, you're very open about your journey, and you weren't dating, were you? Like you hadn't ever gone on, like how long it had been since you were avoiding being with any partners or dating or just interacting in that way with the opposite sex?
Yeah, so after my first relationship, which ended in 2016, I didn't date for 3.5, 4 years until I met you. And I don't think I realized at the time how upsetting that heartbreak was, because I think that deep down I really wanted to start a family and get things going.
Yeah.
So there was a gap of 3.5, 4 years where I did not date, I did not have sex, I pretty much didn't speak to another woman. It's absurd now that I think about it, but that's what was
And
real for me at the time.
do you remember why? Do you remember why you were avoiding?
The
'Cause I
biggest thing
remember.
yeah, there was the one biggest thing, which was I didn't want to hurt anyone else like I'd hurt my last girlfriend, and I felt really guilty about it, what I had done, and I just thought, well, it's better to just not do it at all, because then
Yeah.
I'll never hurt anyone ever again if I just don't do it. If I
Yeah.
never open myself up to another woman ever again.
Yeah. That's unresolved guilt and shame.
Mm.
And
And
energetically, we push love away because we're, beating ourselves up. Right.
yeah, it just felt like it would never go away, and this is just my life, pretty much.
Just doing women a favor by avoiding them altogether. And there was that part of you that wanted to do that, but then there's this other part that was like, I really want to have a connection. I want to have a family. I want to be the kind of guy that is safe in a relationship again, or ever. It's a skill that you never learned. And so what happened after that? What's going on in your life right now, and what do you feel was the biggest win in you taking on the embodiment work that goes deeper than the cognition?
Well, I want to start with what we did at the time and then what's happening now. So
Sure.
I mean, at the time we explored my last relationship and my feelings, and like I felt everything that I needed to feel, and it was within 1 week that I went on my first date.
That's right. You work fast. Oh yeah, that's so true. Yeah, within a week.
I can't believe it.
Geez, what the fuck? This kid is just working fast. What's up?
Because for the whole 3 years, I'm thinking, I'm like, oh man, what have I got to say? I'm thinking all this stuff, but it's the feeling work that opens you up, and then it just flows naturally. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
And I was really like, I was really open on the date, and like really in touch with my heart, and I just communicated fully with her. I'm like, hey, like, I'm just letting you know this is my first day in 3.5 years, and it went really well.
Yeah, I remember. I remember it went well for you.
Yeah.
Go on.
Fast forward to today, I'm with a very amazing woman, and we're starting a family together. So we have a child on the way that's due in August, and
wow, I saw that. I was like, I saw it on Facebook, and I saw you were like holding on to her tummy, and I was just, what is up? If you are finally ready to learn how to take all of these concepts that I share in my content, in my podcasts, in my YouTube videos, my Facebook Lives, and learn how to integrate them and implement them through a series of neural exercises that teach you how to rewire your relationship with trauma, sex, and money, the things that are most argued about in relationship dynamics, you will absolutely love my upcoming 3-day intensive. Click that link below. It's coming up very soon. It is ideal for people who are nerds for neuroscience and want to rewire this conditioning of undeserving, of prosperity, abundance, and healthy sexuality. If we don't get to the conditioning, these unresolved faulty mechanisms play out in relational dynamics, creating insecure attachments, and unconsciously we are pushing prosperity and healthy sexuality away because of this mechanism of undeserving. If you want to learn how to shift it from an embodied perspective, follow the link below, and we'll see you at our next Rewire event coming really soon. I was like, oh, because I would just, I had shed a little tear there because it was everything that, you felt that wasn't available to you at some point. And to see you go through your kind of hero's journey, coming full circle. And now with who you've become, where you'll be able to parent this child with such, awareness and consciousness, and teach him or her. Is it a boy or a girl? Do you know?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Don't know if it's one or two or three either. So we'll see.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Well, whatever they are, you're going to be able to teach them how to feel, how to be their emotions. And you're going to raise this child in an environment where you and your wife, you and your partner have like a really strong and stable relationship. Can you share the difference? Because we talked about this, the difference between, like, that's a huge win that you're about to have a baby in the recording of this transmission. But what did you notice differently? What did you notice different about the quality of relationships before the work and then after the work, as far as secure relationships go, and the difference that you noticed?
Yeah, so it's exactly what you said to me when we're doing the program together. It's look for the warm cup of oatmeal, not the fireworks. And like I said, I've thought about that so many times I cannot even tell you, on so many different levels.
I'm gonna send you a bowl of oatmeal for your birthday. I'll be like, give me your address. I'm gonna mail you a bowl of oatmeal for your birthday as but it's a really great analogy, isn't it?
Yeah, I literally have oatmeal every morning for breakfast, and I don't know if subconsciously I'm looking at the oatmeal and thinking, I'm like,
But when you met, it's Sarah is her name, right?
Yes.
When you met her, you could see that was something different. What did you notice as far as the emotional maturity of this relationship compared to before you did the work?
Yeah, so before I did the work, it was basically fireworks. Everything was just blowing up. amazing, perfect, and then there's a massive crash, and then it's over, it's done.
Love bombing, devalue, discard. Love bombing, devalue, discard. That's the cycle of the trauma bond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that. That's exactly what it was. The thing that happened with Sarah is when I moved to Tasmania, I found her on flatmates.com, and I moved into her house. Neither of us had any intention of having anything go further. But the difference with this one was we lived together. There was no facade at all. There was zero facade. She wasn't putting on makeup to go downstairs and make breakfast. I wasn't getting dressed up to go downstairs and have breakfast.
You weren't trying to impress one another. There was no mask. It was real from the beginning. And
yeah, exactly. There was no mask. Plus we spoke to each other about so much about our lives, exactly how things had happened, what we love, what we're insecure about, just as friends, just as really good friends. And yeah, I mean, after 5 months.
Yeah, it just developed over time. Like secure relationships, one of the hallmarks of secure relationships is they get stronger over time. Whereas the other types of trauma bonds, it's just really intense in the beginning and then it kind of withers away. And like, that's exactly, I remember telling you, I'm like, this is what it's going to be like when it hits you. You know what I mean? It's not like what everybody looks at for in the movies. I mean, there's a great connection, but it actually gets stronger over time. And I couldn't be more proud of, what's happening for you. And so how do you feel now in 3 or 4 words, considering, where you were frozen, you were numb, how do you feel now?
I'd say grounded, present, accepting, grateful.
Beautiful. Amazing. And so what would you say to somebody who's watching and he can identify with everything that you're saying and is kind of considering taking on the path of breaking that cycle and they're on the fence about it? What would you tell them?
I would say without a doubt, working with you was the catalyst that made everything else line up. And I would say a really, really big piece of advice that I have is at the start, it feels like you're going so slow that nothing's going to change. That's how I felt anyway. But when I stuck with it consistently, like everything just changed very quickly over the space of 2.5 years. So I'd really just say find someone, or if you don't know what you're doing, find someone to help you, like Nima, and I'd just say just stick with it. Just even if it feels like you're going nowhere fast, just keep going.
That's what healing actually works. Nervous system regulation. That was what I noticed when I took it on, Ryan, was like, God, I'm so used to, like, I need the mindgasm. I need the insight and the tears and the revelation. And whereas nervous system regulation actually goes slow and progressive, like building muscle. When you start a gym program, you start noticing, you don't notice it maybe in the first 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, but after, there's a little point, there's a shift that happens where you're like, whoa, I feel stronger. I feel more at ease. My reactivity is different. I'm not running away. I'm able to stay and co-regulate. I'm usually a fight flight type of person, or a freezer and a fawner. Well, I'm actually standing up for myself when I used to fawn. I'm sticking around and having the conversation when I used to run. And so it happens slowly, progressively. And that's how you know that the rewiring is happening. Do you know what I mean? It's a rewiring process. So it's not a flash in the pan. It's actually systematic. It's foundational. It's a commitment to shifting and to neuroplasticity. That's what being a secure partner is. It's not like, give me the answer right now in 5 easy steps. Doesn't work that way. So
yeah, Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow when for a long period of time you kind of believe the hype that you can just get everything like that. But it's
Progressive.
100% worth it.
Yeah, brother. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing, your story. And I'm super duper proud of you. And please give Sarah my love and your baby, and make sure you keep that secure attachment. The greatest thing that you can do for this baby is to really make mom feel like you got her back 100%. And I know that that's where, that's how you're showing up. And I want to just give you mad props for all the work you've done. Make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, thank you. And it's good to see you again after all these years and see the ripple effects. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
brother. Yeah. Awesome. See you later.
Catch you later.
What is up? I just wanted to take a moment to share with you some of the incredible revelations that I've had in my journey from being a chiropractor to learning how to heal my attachment traumas, take these toxic patterns in my relationships and turn it into a beautiful, secure relationship. And in this journey of my own healing, I'm kind of committed to the path of sharing with others what I learn and guiding people down a similar path. No need to diagnose, no need to treat, no need to label. It's just giving people the tools to become their own medicine, to heal from anxious attachment, avoidant attachment like I was, to be able to have healthy, secure love. Now, I've deliberately left out two very important topics in this world of healing trauma and breaking trauma bonds. And these topics, it's gotten to a point where I really can't ignore it anymore. I couldn't ignore it anymore, being in my own life, and in the lives of the clients and the students that we work with. And that's in the realm of our trauma stories with sex and with money. But I deliberately don't really share much about it. Why? Well, because I've been in the process of unpacking and healing my own sexual shadows. And I didn't want to share anything coming from a wound. I wanted to share from a place of a scar, not a wound. And so that's happening. And I'm coming out with it now. And these two very taboo subjects that people have a lot of emotional charge about, for good reason, because of our cultural conditioning and the traumas that we've experienced, we're holding on to a lot of shame with these two topics, sex and money. And that's why I've now started to create trainings and an event that's actually coming up very soon. If you check and click the link below, it's a 3-day event. And it's all about helping people with the most common complaints that we get when people DM me. They talk about being stuck in a marriage or having challenges connecting and wanting to know if they should stay or go. But that's the surface complaint. What's really happening is there's an infidelity that hadn't been healed. There are sexual fantasies that we feel judged by. There are addictions. There's pornography. There's fantasy. There's feelings of completely losing your sex drive, right? There's all of that happening. And all of that comes from cultural conditioning and hardwired trauma stories from our early attachments with mom and dad. And it's time we had the conversation about sex and money. And so I'm creating a container that's coming up very soon. Follow the link, where you're going to learn how to untangle this wiring that has you feeling like you're not supposed to have good sex and you're not supposed to receive abundance and prosperity. consider that it doesn't even come from you. It's in your wiring. So Rewire Trauma, Sex, and Money is an exposure of everything that's ever held you back from having great sex and prosperity. And this is a conversation about healing so that we can rewire and heal from our past, the narratives, the family system rules, the religious, the cultural conditioning that has you pushing love, pushing abundance, pushing intimacy away unconsciously through no fault of your own, and changing that narrative inside of your body. And here's the best part, it's only limited to 200 people because we're going to be doing breakout rooms. We're going to be talking about it within groups of people so that you can see that you're not alone. Because shame can't exist in the light. To heal from shame, which we're all holding on to, sex and money, it exists in your darkness, in the darkness, and it thrives in secrecy, silence, and shame. So this event is 3 days. It's intense. You block off everything else with intention to rewire your money and sex story so that you can then feel safer in your body. So follow that link below, jump in, join us. And if you jump in sooner rather than later, you get to join in the upcoming overview experience that's coming soon. You get a ticket to that absolutely free. And those of you who do the VIP actually get my course called the Intimacy Accelerator, which is about 25 hours of pure fire content, 6 workshops. And normally that was the retail investment of $2,000. You're getting that for free with the VIP enrollment. So I don't know about you, but I'm pretty freaking stoked and I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm telling you right now, I'm nervous about having this conversation because it's a highly triggering conversation. That's why we have a intake form, a survey. We want to get to know you, make sure that you're ready for this level of activation. We're going to be talking about sex. Sometimes your sex traumas are going to come up. Everything that has you believing that you're not worthy of having great sex with a committed partner. Everything that has you believing that you're not worthy of receiving prosperity while giving your gift. That makes you an asshole, that makes you evil, it makes you a predator, makes you manipulative. All that bullshit is in your wiring. And I've been working on mine, and I'm ready to teach you how to work on yours. See you at the next perfect time.